Hi, I'm Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life. I talked to acclaimed director and executive producer Roland Emmerich.
When I saw the first race, I was like giddy.
Actor Ewan Ryan.
For an actor, that's a dream, although you do get a lot of sand in your sandals.
And so many more.
You helped summon those ghosts back onto that stage.
Every day when I went to set, I was giggling about what I saw.
I think it's going to be a breathtaking thing.
People will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Rob Benedict.
And I am Richard Spate. We were both on a little show you might know called Supernatural.
It had a pretty good run, 15 seasons, 327 episodes.
And though we have seen, of course, every episode many times, we figured, hey, now that we're wrapped, let's watch it all again.
And we can't do that alone, so we're inviting the cast and crew that made the show along for the ride. We've got writers, producers, composers, directors, and we'll of course have some actors on as well, including some certain guys that played some certain pretty iconic brothers.
It was kind of a little bit of a left field choice in the best way possible.
The note from Kripke was, he's great, we love him, but we're looking for like a really intelligent Duchovny type.
With 15 seasons to explore, it's going to be the road trip of several lifetimes. So please join us and subscribe to Supernatural Then and Now.
Hey.
Wow. Hi. How you doing, Jenny?
I'm great. I'm so excited. How are you?
I'm doing pretty great. It took us like a couple of tries to get into this intro because the information that we have to share with you is so enormous that I feel
Are you sitting down?
Right. Like, sit down.
Are you in a safe space?
Check your rearview mirror, gather your surroundings, prepare for what we are about to tell you. It's a 1-2 punch of announcements, folks.
Yes.
And here comes the first fist to your face. We are going to be sitting down with Seth Green, a.k.a. Oz, a.k.a. the werewolf who stole our hearts. For an episode, a very special episode where we talk to Seth about his time on the show that will air on June 7th. June 7th is also the day, coincidentally, that Seth Green's directorial debut comes out. It is a movie called Changeland, and it is a comedy drama that stars a few wonderful people. One of them is Breckin Meyer. So this is like just all of my 90s heartstrings being played upon. I follow, I think, Seth Green because of Buffering on Instagram, and there's a lot of crossover content between Seth Green and Breckin Meyer, which is like always very enjoyable for me. Anyhow, we are simply beside ourselves that we are going to get a chance to talk to Seth. Today, I'm going to put a post up on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook where you can submit questions so that we'll select a handful of listener-submitted questions to ask Seth when we sit down with him. So buckle up. This break of ours is just turning out to be less and less of a break.
Yeah, what's a break?
What is a break?
Okay, all right. You've all got a stake on your eye right now. What? That's STEAK.
I know. I was like, wait, what?
Nursing the bruise the emotional excitement bruise you just received from that news. Are you ready for the second part?
No, they're not.
Of our big announcement.
They're not.
No, how could they be? We weren't even ready. But I'm going to tell you anyway. In secret, we deceived you. And in secret, we sat down with Charisma Carpenter recently in Los Angeles and talked to her all about her time portraying Cordelia on both Buffy and Angel. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
She is amazing. We had the best time talking to her. She was so lovely and so funny and great. And we will be airing that interview, are you ready, on Charisma's birthday, July 23rd.
Which, like, for the record, we were like, are there any important days in July for us to put this episode up? And she was like, my birthday is July 23rd, which I thought was an incredibly wonderful Cordelia Charisma crossover moment.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so what? What are we even doing to you in this introduction?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's really, there's a lot. There's a lot.
You know, Jenny, I'm realizing that us telling them what we're doing this summer really doesn't matter anymore because all anyone's going to care about.
Yeah, everyone is just staring into the middle distance right now with a ringing in their ears, and nothing we say in the intro is going to register. But we must sally forth regardless.
James Marsters, Seth Green, and Charisma Carpenter all within like months of each other? What's even happening?
Yeah, is that a holy trinity or is that a holy trinity?
Oh, wow. Okay, so let us tell you what we are going to be doing this summer. If you do want to hear more from us and not just play the Charisma and Seth interviews on loop for the rest of your summer, I will be doing another podcast that has already begun. It is called To L and Back, and it is an L word podcast. Jenny, I'm like really experiencing a lot of feelings for so many things, but namely for another Jenny, who I thought I hated. But it turns out...
No, she's got a lot going on, doesn't she?
Yo, Jenny Schechter is like really worming her way into my heart. There's like a whole journey happening over there. And that season 1 of To Ellen Back will go all the way through July. So if you're missing me in your ears, you can hear me and my journey with Jenny Schechter, Marina, Alice, Dana, Shane, Laura Perkins. Oh my God, there's so much going on over there. So join me and Reese Bernard, who is the CEO of Autostraddle and probably a person who knows more about the L word than anyone else on this planet, will be weekly in your ears talking about some lesbian stuff. Speaking of lesbian stuff, New York City Pride is at the end of June, and I will be hosting the 7th annual All Ages New York City Pride Party at Housing Works in Brooklyn, Housing Works Bookstore Cafe. So you can follow me in all the places using my name, Kristin Nolene, to find out all of those details. I'm very excited.
I'm excited for you, and I'm also excited for myself, if I may.
You may.
During our not-so-breaky break, I will be doing some music stuff. I'll be releasing some Jenny Owen Young's music for the first time in a while, and I'm going to be announcing details about that very soon. So please join me upon social media. I'm at Jenny Owen Youngs on all platforms. You can also find me at jennyowenyoungs.com, where I will very soon be revealing some musical release plans, information, pre-order, merch. Wow, what a time to be alive. I also, as you may or may not know, am playing just a few shows in the Northeast in May, and the Boston and Brooklyn shows are sold out, but there are still, at the time of this taping, a few tickets for Philly left. That's May 18th at Milk Boy. You can grab tickets at jennyowenyoungs.com or at Milk Boy's website as well. And that's what I'm getting up to. I wish I could tell you more highly specific things about the music release right now, but just tweaking, and it's almost ready. Okay, cool.
We're all going to be ready for it when it's ready for us, Jenny. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Something that is ready right now for your beer is a new beer stein that's in our store that has Isabella Rotman's Support Your Local Alewife design on it. One of you out there tweeted a picture of the beer stein full of beer, and it looks so beautiful. So thank you, whoever you are out there. We have a lot of new merch in the store, just, so you can get your summer fixins. I'm sure we'll add a couple more things over the summer too, so you should follow us for those updates, because how could we not do another crop top? We have to.
Another crop top. Maybe like a nice big Buffering the Vampire Slayer beach towel.
Yeah.
Just
it's just Riley.
It's here, Kristin. Oh my God, yes, it's just Riley.
But yeah, we have beer steins. We have new mugs with our logo on them. We have dad hats, which honest to God, I've worn my dad hat every day for the last 3 weeks. And we also have a new enamel pin designed by Kara Sykes that is the two queerest witches of all, Tara and Willow. It's a beautiful bird's eye view of them doing their sweaty, sweaty spell that is referred to lovingly as the O spell. So get on over there, bufferingthevampireslayer.com. Just click on shop.
And hey, speaking of queer witches, new jingle alert.
Wow. This intro is more powerful than even the podcast itself.
Yeah, this intro is basically a whole episode unto itself.
All right, buckle up. We got a jingle from Jenny Owen Youngs about two queer witches. That's pretty gay all around.
Moving Moving vending machines, pulling petals off of roses, Greek poetry, kittens, and you know it's sweaty work, doing spells from a place of love, like Willow and Tara.
Jenny, beautiful, beautiful job. It's
Thanks.
It's almost like, it's almost like you yourself are queer and therefore
I don't know what you're talking about.
Understand. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to. How rude. I didn't mean to out you here on Buffering the Vampire Slayer.
I only like hunks, actually. How dare you?
Beautiful job. I want to say, as some of you already know, Jenny has a lot of talent, but I'm like a natural talent.
A natural talent.
Without any training, I have written melodies, for songs like Halloween. Back in season 1, I've helped a lot with lyrics. And when Jenny was working on this jingle, I just without even thinking about it, I just texted her some lyrical ideas. And Jenny was so inspired by my off the cuff lyrics that literally moments later, I guess we're both natural talents because it really took you
Yes, 2 natural talents.
It only took you literally 20, not even 20 minutes. And Jenny texted me like a prankster and was like, I think I might have fixed a recurring audio issue that we've been having. So I sent you an email and the email was titled audio issue. And I was like, what is this? And I hit play and it was the lyrics I had texted her fully arranged to this beautiful secondary jingle for Tara and Willow.
When I say spell, you say oh, spell, oh, spell. Oh. When I say wolf, you say no, wolf, no, wolf, no.
I was so moved that my text moved you to make it really it just meant a lot to me. So thank you. I felt really seen.
You're welcome, and everyone else is welcome too.
I suppose that this will be the jingle segment of our intro because you know what it's time for, Jenny?
Spooky news.
So it's the season finale of Spooky News, and I thought this was...
Yeah, I hope this one's a doozy. I hope you're ready to wow me and knock my spooky socks off.
It is, in the sense of you know how when you look above 2 queer witches doing a spell, you see a circle that connects to itself of magic?
Sure.
Well, this is this is the Spooky News circle closing itself, because if you remember, the reason that Spooky News is a thing is because several months ago, I learned that 2 girls in high school baked one of their grandfather's ashes into cookies and served the cookies to their classmates. And I couldn't stop thinking about it or talking about it for 1 billion years. So I put it up here in the intro. So Denise B., one of our listeners, sent me in this. So many of you send me spooky news. I love it. I mostly love it. Sometimes I get 400 messages about terrifying things, but what are you going to do? But Denise B. sent in this news story from it's a town that's spelled Lititz. So I would like to call it Lititz, Pennsylvania.
Please.
Okay. So in Lititz, Pennsylvania, this happened at Easter dinner of a home of this woman named Martha. The family learned that she had used her deceased husband. His name was Earl, which I feel is really relevant.
Goodbye, Earl.
Literally, goodbye, Earl. Her deceased husband, Earl, she used his ashes in the meal. Now, just hang tight, okay?
Okay.
She didn't tell anybody until,
oh my God.
Until after they finished eating. And then she told them all that she had used her late husband's cremated remains in the meal so they could all have a piece of him forever, which I feel like she didn't remember that when you eat, so you don't keep it for, but okay, metaphysics, fine, Martha. But in addition, the other piece of this story that tickled me, if I can use that phrasing, is that she used his ashes in, are you ready? The mashed potatoes, the bread, the cake, and Jenny, even in her homemade marshmallow peeps.
What?
Yeah, that's right. Some husband ash marshmallow peeps were involved. in an Easter dinner
oh my
in
gosh.
Latitz, Pennsylvania. This might be my favorite spooky news of all for so many reasons.
It's got something for everyone. Also, ash potatoes.
Ooh, ashed potato. Oh, God, it's good. So thank you, Jenny, for listening. Thank you, everyone else, for listening. This has been your Spooky News. All right, something that's not spooky at all, Jenny, is the fact that today, in addition to our season finale airing, the Angel on Top season finale to Shanshu in LA is also airing today. I have heard this episode. It is so wonderful. Brittany and Laura are so hysterical. I was like cry laughing at several points of this episode. Also, I do a special segment about my feelings on Cordelia's growth this season. We talk about the queer woman at the art table, which I think is like a really critical, pivotal character in this episode. and I do a fuck watch with Brittany and Laura. So there's like a lot of really fun, wonderful stuff. If you are not already listening to Angel on Top, you should be.
Yeah, and speaking of fun, wonderful stuff, while we're taking our summer hiatus, that is, again, increasingly less and less like a hiatus, Angel on Top episodes will also pause and come back with us in the fall. But in the meantime, they've got some hot stuff going on over on Patreon for the summer. Number one, my number one favorite thing that they are doing is, are you ready? Angel on High, which is, of course... some podcast episodes where Brittany and Laura will get high and then discuss angel heavy episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer for your listening pleasure. They used to do this on Sicker Sadder World, their Daria podcast, and they were some of my favorite episodes. Listening to them talk about stuff while they're high is pretty great. And they'll also be doing an Angel Watch, a group watch like we do for our Buffy watches. They'll be doing a corresponding Angel Watch over the summer for their patrons as well.
Yes, and our Patreon schedule as well as Angel on Top's Patreon schedule is all on our calendar. You can find that by going to Buffering the Vampire Slayer and clicking on events. You can see all of those things. They're all listed for you. I will say that since I've listened to the Angel on Top finale, I know that Brittany and Laura both said during their announcement of Angel on High that they are going to be consuming legal California marijuana and being very safe. There will be no driving. There will be no anything, just sitting on the couch discussing our favorite brooding vampire.
Well, I feel better already. As always, we want to thank Lauren Klein, our dutiful sound engineer, who you can follow on Instagram at Lauren Taylor Klein.
Jenny, I think it's time.
It's time. Our 20-minute intro is coming to a close.
Hey, you know what? It's fun up here. It's not taxing.
There's a lot to talk about, and it's also so hard to say goodbye for this season, except not goodbye, because we're doing all that other stuff.
You were trying to cue me to sing some Boyz II Men.
Yes,
to you?
do it.
It's so hard to say goodbye to season 4.
Wow, that's so nice. My God, hello and welcome to the last episode of season 4 of Buffering the Vampire Slayer, a podcast where we are watching every episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer one at a time, spoiler free. I am Jenny Owen Youngs.
And I am still Kristin Russo. And this week we are doing the second of a 2-part season finale for season 4, episode 22, Restless. Stay tuned at the end of this podcast. You might have thought it was going to be at the end of the last one, but actually it's at the end of this one. Part 2 gets the song for an original song written by Jenny, recapping the Buffy episode we are discussing.
Restless was still written and directed by Joss Whedon and still originally aired on May 23rd, 2000.
Yes, and this is still the one where Buffy, Willow, Xander, and Giles are experiencing dreams in which they are pursued by Sanaya. IMDb says a mysterious figure, but we all know that it's Sanaya. We all know we've got a lot more to talk about. If you are just tuning in and you missed the first part, go back and listen to the first part of our discussion of the finale, because in there we talk about Willow's dream, we talk about Xander's dream. We also have a bit of an interview with David Wells, who plays the Cheese Man. And now, I believe we are going to sally forth, if you will.
I will.
Into Giles's dream.
Giles, hot dad. When you were younger, you were real bad. But now you're older, you've got glasses that help you watch over us. Thank you, Giles.
You know, we've talked about it in the last piece of things, but we're getting a very deep, detailed view about what's happening with these characters and what has been going on with them for season 4 in this poem of an episode.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, it's Olivia.
So, well, hold on.
Oh my God,
it's not
I can't
Olivia
wait
yet.
I can't possibly
but
wait.
it is gonna be Olivia.
All right.
Which I have questions about too. But we start with Buffy under hypnosis.
Oh, whoops. I didn't even take a note about that.
I know, it's really quick, but I found it really interesting because I have like little flashes of memory for, you know, all of the last 4 seasons. I don't remember every detail. But when I saw this, I immediately went back to the episode, which was a pivotal point for Buffy and Giles, where she was turning 18.
Oh, helpless.
And she had to perform under these crazy circumstances because the Watchers Council is full of what, Jenny? The patriarchy! That's right, the patriarchy. Anyway, Giles, as her watcher, was told that he had to like hypnotize her and then give her injections of this thing that would take away her. But it was really dramatic.
Yeah.
And it was this massive betrayal of trust between them. So I found it to be a very interesting and pointed choice that his whole dream began with him hypnotizing Buffy, because I think Giles remembers it just as much as I do. That's all I'm trying to say. Then we go to where you would like to get us to. Olivia. So Buffy as a child, right? She's over-childized in like overalls, which are pointedly not the overalls of sadness. And Olivia is pushing a baby carriage.
Yep.
That is empty.
Yeah, it's Buffy's, I think.
Right.
Right.
And this is, of course, Giles was a school librarian and a watcher. And now he is neither. I mean, he's not an official watcher. He doesn't really know exactly what his purpose is. And he's been struggling with that for the whole season.
Yeah.
A side of Giles that we don't get to see a lot, but I think is really cool, that's such a big part of this dream, is like Giles is an adult man who perhaps thinks sometimes about what it means that he was a watcher, what it means that he doesn't really date very much. And like and
the women he does date are like, I'm terrified of your life. Goodbye.
Exactly. And I think that's real. And I love that, you know, I really do wish that we actually got more of that in the series about Giles, that like, you know, he is making decisions and some things he's not deciding, but similar to Buffy, he's saving the world. And that means that he can't have a normal, quote, quote, life. You know, he doesn't have a partner. He doesn't have children. Buffy is kind of his child.
Yeah. Work dad. Giles. Hot dad.
When he was older, younger he was
real bad.
He had glasses and he's so mad. And now he takes care of us. Is that how it goes?
Thank you,
Giles. So another thing that I thought was cool is that this first scene with Olivia, the baby carriage, Buffy, Giles is in a cemetery / state fair. It's like the hybrid of those two worlds.
So great. We've got that like great game that Buffy wants to play real bad. That's all.
I am a vampire.
Yeah. And she misses real wide. And Giles is like, Buffy, you have a sacred birthright to protect mankind. Don't stick your elbow out.
Right. And it's like Giles's feeling of needing to protect, needing to take care. A small, tiny little thing that I noticed is that at the State Fair Cemetery thing, there's a marquee behind them that it says Dirty Gerties. And I just...
Oh, goodness.
It's just there. And
Wonder what's going on in there.
I want to know. I want to go into Dirty Gerties.
We don't, though. We go into Spike's crypt, which has a bajillion lawn gnomes outside.
Yes, which is a great detail. It's like, how much fun must it have been to create this episode to like really just sit in a writer's room and be like, what are these like wacky details that we can thread through to make this dreamlike? And they just nail it at every turn. Because that's totally, you can imagine like waking up and being like, I had this dream where I was in the cemetery and I was in Spike's crypt, but he had so many gnomes outside. It's just like this like weird, like what is your brain doing when it sets you up with these details? So this is fun. Spike really gets like a starring role in the dream.
Yeah, it's so great. And he's, an entrepreneur through and through. They brought a fair into his cemetery. He's gonna make a buck.
Yeah, he's basically doing the classic freak show, which is such a staple of so many state fairs that they would have like the freak show where you would go see various humans
or vampires.
So problematic in the actual execution of what a freak show was.
Bananas.
Just insane what this planet does and what our society does. Like that you would pay $5 to see, quote, freaks, which of course are people who don't look or appear the way that society expects them to based on their gender or based on their whatever it is. It's just like really atrocious stuff. But in Spike's case,
in this context, Spike is just looking scary.
Right. He's doing
and black and white.
Oh my God. Like James Marster is just absolutely impeccable in his ability to work that coat. I mean, are you kidding?
Oh my God, yeah.
Like his poses, his like everything that he does is just fucking brilliant. If you didn't listen to our interview with James, it's definitely one of the highlights of my life was sitting down to talk to him. So you should go check it out. But this is really funny. And it also switches to black and white, which is a fun, because we're doing a lot with lighting. We're doing a lot with like all these sorts of things. And so Spike's segment is in black and white.
But when it flashes back to Giles and like Olivia, like watching him, that's in color.
Yes.
Which is cool. Going back and forth. Also, just want to like pop in here to say that in the director's commentary track for this episode, at this point, Joss talks a bit about how obviously we're seeing like Giles is what is my life? He doesn't know if he like wants to be a father, if he wants to be a rock star, if he wants to just give the boring exposition in every episode of Buffy. And then he just said, so ultimately I just decided to combine the latter two for this dream as we move, like when we eventually get to the bronze in a second, he's kind of like rocking out as we've been seeing him do increasingly lately, and also just like saying everything that's coming to mind in terms of what's really going on here.
Right. And before, of course, we go to the bronze, well, two things. Spike says to Giles, make up your mind, which is an important line. It's, again, like underlining this dichotomy of like, what are you? Are you this or are you that, man? This is the time to decide. Now you got to figure out what your life is. And then, of course, we get the third appearance of the Cheese Man. Definitely check out the first part of our finale where you can hear us talking to David Wells. And he says what I think is the most known line of the Cheese Man, of Giles' dream, which is, I wear the cheese, it does not wear me.
Which actually I learned is Joss poking fun at a line that Leo DiCaprio says in the modern version of The Man in the Iron Mask.
What?
I wear the mask, it does not wear me.
Wow.
So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
That's really a good behind the scenes little snippet. So we go to the bronze.
/
Giles' apartment. This is great. His couch and his lamp are set up in the bronze. Very, very...
The most dream.
Totally.
Anya's doing stand-up. Her calling.
Okay, let's just give a minute here for Anya's joke. Let's just all get to hear it together.
A man walks into the office of a doctor. He's wearing on his head, wait, there's a duck. Is that right?
You suck.
Quiet. you'll miss the humorous conclusion. And then the duck tells the doctor that there's a man that's attached to my ass. See, it was the duck and not the man that spoke.
How are they going to get that man off that duck's ass?
Oh, Anya. Oh, Anya. I love, like, I feel like Anya and Spike really occupy very similar roles in the dreams. Like, they're, like, supporting characters to, like, help us, get to the next place or, like, understand something about the other character.
Or, like, have fun while we're just getting some, like,
information.
Nebulous kind of, like, psychic narrative about the other characters. Okay, so are you ready for some shit?
I'm ready for some shit.
Okay, so Giles gets up on stage and he's all like, Willow, check the chronicles. Of course, this stuff is happening. And he's telling us all kinds of stuff about, oh my gosh, it must be the first watcher. Oh my gosh, a disturbance must have been caused by us, like, doing the spell, whatever. All right. The gentleman playing the piano on stage at the Bronze is Christoph Beck, who scores the series. Joss wrote the exposition that needed to be delivered, and then Christoph Beck just scored and arranged it.
Wow.
That's right. So that's what they're doing up there. Well, Giles is just like leaning the mic forward. Everybody's got their lighters up. He looks great. He looks natural.
Yeah. So, and I don't think that you're going to get through this episode without us playing some of Giles' song, of course. But I actually want to talk about some of the stuff that is said, I think, before Giles starts singing. Which is Willow and Giles are talking and she's saying, there's some things after us and it's your fault. And they talk about Sinea again without using her name. They just say it's a primal force. And we keep sort of like lightly touching on the Sinea thing. We're going to get into it much more, obviously, when we get to Buffy's dream. But just want to put a little underline here that once again, we're not saying this person's name. We're not treating them like they are a human. They're just a force and energy. And I think the word that is used in the episode as well as in the director's commentary is primitive, which sort of gets at the heart of this whole issue and why this is so problematic. But we'll get more into it in a minute. Giles is singing. Jenny has explained to us where the music came from. I said to Kate Leth before we started doing this episode, I said, Kate, you got to give us a finale fashion watch, of course. And I would love to play Giles' song and then let the listeners just roll right out of that song into your beautiful dulcet tones. And she was into it. So we're going to play a little snippet of Giles singing. And then right when you get most excited, we're going to get you even more excited with a fashion watch from Kate Leth.
It's strange. It's not like anything we've faced before. It seems familiar somehow. Of course. The spell we cast with Buffy must have released some primal evil that's come back seeking. I'm not sure what. Willow looked through the chronicles for some reference to a warrior beast. I've got to warn Buffy. There's every chance she might be next. Xander and Willow. I'm trying not to bleed on my couch. I just had it steam cleaned. No, wait.
Well, hello there, and welcome back to Buffy Fashion Watch as we wrap up Season 4. I would like to give Giles a special thanks for singing me into this strange, beautiful, problematic, interesting, very, very different episode that closes out Season 4 and ushers us into Season 5 as mysteriously as possible. Now, there's a lot of fashion to talk about in this episode because in everyone's dreams, everyone's wearing different outfits and costumes, but I would like to take a moment to really appreciate Harmony's dirndl, the word for that sort of Bavarian peasant dress, tavern wench outfit that she's wearing that I learned when I got really deep into the weeds last year trying to buy a nice one for the LA Renaissance Fair, which is known as the Pleasure Fair, which is terrible. The name, not the fair. The fair is pretty fun. And partly because I refuse to discuss what Willow and Tara are wearing in Xander's dream because it is so distressing. I would like to talk for just a quick second about Willow's nightmare. Now, Willow's nightmare sees her dressed the way that she was in season 1. And I think that that's so interesting because all of her dream, obviously we're talking about, people are going to find out who you are. People are going to find out the real you. And we think, maybe that has to do with her sexuality or with the witchcraft. And then it's no, that she's still a huge nerd. And that's really interesting to me because so much of how Willow changes and evolves is really reflected in her clothing and in her hair, even though she's still wearing, kind of goofy stuff, sarongs and bright colors and, all the things that were very popular if you were kind of a free spirit in that particular point in time. But it really does show how much she's changed. We've seen her come from these giant fuzzy sweaters and terrible fleece hats and oversized corduroy pants. And now she does dress a little bit more fashionable and she does kind of show off her figure a little bit. And part of that is growing up and getting older and the character growing up and getting older. But I just love that moment, and I don't really have a particularly insightful opinion other than that I think it's great that Willow's greatest fear is that she had no character progression. It makes sense, she's smart, like how Harry Potter's greatest fear is fear itself because he's afraid of the Dementors when they show up in the boggart. You know what I'm talking about, right? Right. Anyway, Riley wears both a cowboy outfit and a suit. It's a whole situation. Buffy's cherry dress at the end is wonderful because it really symbolizes how different she is from the first Slayer, whose whole deal I am not even gonna touch. Now I'm gonna wrap this up because I live near an airport and they keep letting planes take off despite how many times I ask them not to, and my Audacity keeps crashing. So I'd like to say thank you for joining us for season 4. I am excited to come back for season 5 because, oh boy, there are some outfits. Until next time, I'll see you at the mall.
That was our friend Kate. She gave you the Buffy fashion update.
Oh my gosh. Kate Leth. Kate Leth having some audio issues there at the end because of the planes in her in her neighborhood, which is kind of like immersive theater here because we leave the bronze with feedback, which is another audio issue.
Ah, yes. And then Giles is maybe looking for the source of the feedback. And as many a musician has experienced, sometimes you have to follow your mic cable off stage back into the same backstage area that Willow is. That right?
It seems like the same backstage.
Pretty darn similar.
Yeah.
And then he just comes upon a great heap of Stregonona.
Wow.
Like spaghetti cabling.
Uh-huh. And then, okay, so Giles says, I can defeat Sanaya. Of course, nobody's saying her name, but I can defeat her with my intellect. And one of the things is really starting to be underlined here. And it gets even more into it when we get to Buffy's dream. But it's sort of like Western civilization was framed directly up against being more advanced then and therefore superior to other people, specifically Black people.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's many layers of problems with the treatment of the first Slayer, the treatment of Sanaya. And one of them is really underlined with this moment that Giles has where he's like, but I have intellect, so I can defeat you. It's an issue.
He also says, tipping the hand of the episode the most to us as it has been up to this point, you never had a watcher.
Yes.
So now this is the window that's open, right? For us.
Right. And Jenny, how does Giles?
Oh my God, he gets debrained.
He gets like scalped, right? It's like that's the
scalped, and then probably the whole brain goes.
Yeah, definitely. And I think maybe people know now that we're at Dream 3 that, of course, the way that each Scooby is attacked by Sanaya is directly related to their power from...
Within the context of the spell from...
Exactly.
Primeval.
Support for today's episode comes from OneSkin. And if you have sensitive skin, you're going to want to hear about their scientifically proven topical supplements. Free from over 1,500 chemicals and preservatives that can make skin red, irritated, or itchy, their products are safe for sensitive skin. It's just one of the reasons they've earned the Skin Safe seal of approval.
They've also earned the Jenny Owen Youngs and Kristin Russo seal of approval, if I do say so myself, Jenny.
I couldn't agree more. I've been using OneSkin for a few months, and after a few weeks, I remember it like it was yesterday. I texted Kristin and I was like, Maybe she's born with it. I looked in the mirror that morning and was like, oh, things are happening. And I am happy.
I have used a million billion skin products, and I did not think that I was going to switch off of the skin like lotion, the moisturizer that I used and the under eye cream that I use, because I have used them for a little while and I really like them. And I've switched completely, which is a pretty big deal. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Get started today with 15% off using code BUFFERING at oneskin.co. That's 15% off at oneskin.co with code BUFFERING. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, and if you can, please tell them that we sent you.
As a podcast network, our focus is bringing you shows you love to listen to. But we also sell merch related to those shows. And partnering with Shopify has made that both possible and simple for us to do. Shopify is the global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor adventures, Shopify helps you sell everywhere because they've got you covered, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. What's so fantastic about Shopify is how, no matter how big you want to grow, they provide everything you need to get control of your business so you can take it to the next level. Businesses that grow, grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm. That's all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm now to grow your business, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/realm.
Hello, I'm Simon Jack.
And I'm Zing Sing.
And together we host Good Bad Billionaire, the podcast exploring the minds, the motives, and the money of some of the world's richest individuals.
Every episode, we pick a billionaire and we find out how they made their money.
And then we judge them. Are they good, bad, or just another billionaire?
Good Bad Billionaire from the BBC World Service.
Listen now wherever you get your BBC podcasts.
Exactly. So, Jenny.
Well, we come to it at last.
Ah, the dream of Buffy.
Buffy's dream.
The Buffy dream. Yes, we've made it to the fourth quadrant of this double episode. And we're going to get a chance to talk to Lauren Eggert-Crowe, who is a writer, a poet, and also
the creator
and curator of Hamilton in Sunnydale on Tumblr and Sunnydale Ham on Twitter.
It rocks.
And we'll let Lauren talk to you more about that in a second. We're going to have some conversation with her about Buffy's dream and about the episode as a whole. But let's get into some specifics first, Jenny. Anya is roommates with Buffy in Buffy's dream. What's the meaning there?
Or they're just having a slumber party.
Right.
Because Willow's always staying over at Tara's for some reason.
Oh, you think that like in Buffy's subconscious, she feels like maybe a little jealous of Willow's closeness to Tara?
Or like lonely.
Right.
Aww.
And like needs a pal, and Anya's around.
Anya's a great pal.
Plus, Anya's probably so tired from steering that ice cream truck with no...
Oh, I thought you were going to say so tired from dealing with Xander being a Viking in the sack.
Also that. So after we get this moment between Anya and Buffy, that's pretty short-lived.
And we see Sinea on the ceiling.
Right. We see Sinea on the ceiling, which is very scary. Anything on the ceiling is just...
bad. Nothing good ever comes from
No, that makes me think
someone
of
on the ceiling.
Train Spotting?
Blah, blah, blah.
There's a baby on this. Oh, yeah. You know me, everybody. I don't remember anything, and I remember that baby on that ceiling. So we go to from Buffy's dorm room into Buffy's sort of childhood bedroom. She's there, and she says to Tara, who's now there, Faith and I just made that bed.
And Tara's all, for who? And we're like, I don't know, but it's 7:30 a.m.
Yes, and of course, this is a spoiler-free podcast, but wink, wink, nod, nod, everybody.
Yes, many winks.
We know.
Many nods.
We know. And one day, you all will know.
Stop writing your email right now explaining to us
what 7:30 means.
Made for.
So,
oh my gosh, is it a tarot card or a tarot card?
Wow.
I should go.
So
I make sure my secretary always has a tarot deck on hand.
So yeah, we're going to talk to Lauren a little bit about the Manus tarot card here. Sorry, Jenny, the Manus tarot card.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Tara says to Buffy,
Can I say it?
You may.
You think you know what's to come? What you are? You haven't even begun.
What's wrong with me? Why did I want to do that so bad?
I don't know. It's also like I know the inside scoop, which is that yesterday we taped a segment with this and you said it the same way. You're really excited to say that line over and over again. Also, it always makes me think of the that Britney Spears, like, you think you know, but you have no idea.
You mean the
what's it?
MTV, what is it, Real Life?
Real Life? Yeah. You think you know.
You think you know, but you have no idea. This is the diary of Britney Spears.
But really, you have no idea.
Yeah. Which is kind of what Tara's saying. And she says to Buffy, be back before dawn.
What could it mean?
We move to school where Joyce is in the wall.
Dude.
And this is, of course, like, I think that this is definitely Buffy struggling with her feelings of change this year. She's always lived with Joyce, especially after the divorce and the move to LA. It's been her and Joyce in the house. Doing their mom-daughter thing.
Sure.
And as we learned, Buffy is, not picking up her mail. She's not been spending a lot of time with Joyce.
No.
She did save Joyce's life,
Thank you.
Their closeness is shifting, and that's weird, which is a memory I have from leaving my home. And, I was mostly excited to leave my home, but I also had feelings of guilt and confusion about, like, how to interact with my family in this new way when I didn't live, it's easy to have a relationship. I mean, not easy, but it's like your relationship is kind of built in when you live at home.
Right.
And then when you really have to make an effort to be like, let us have dinner together, or do you want to come and meet me for lunch? It's a very different thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we're seeing here.
And she's got this whole bit about a mouse playing with her knees, and Buffy's all like, Mom, I really don't think you should live in the walls. And like they're having this conversation about whether she should stay in there or not. And then, of course, as soon as Joyce is like, well, you are pretty strong, you could probably break me out of the wall. Buffy has gotten distracted and moved on.
Zoom. Okay, before we get too far into Buffy's dream, let's get into the conversation that we had with Lauren, because we talk about things like Riley calling Buffy a killer. We talk about the Manus card. We talk about the problematic nature of Sinea. And I think that our conversation with Lauren was really fun. So let's go over there, Jenny. And then when we come back out the other end, we'll say some more about Buffy's dream.
Yes.
All right, so Jenny and I are here with Lauren Eggert-Crowe, who is a writer, a poet, in fact, and who also is responsible for Hamilton and Sunnydale, which is, as I just learned, more than a Twitter. It is a Twitter and a Tumblr.
That's true.
I know it as Twitter, and it's wonderful. Do you want to explain what Hamilton and Sunnydale is for those few who might not know?
Yes. So Hamilton and Sunnydale, or Sunnydale Ham on Twitter, is a mashup of Hamilton and Buffy. So it has screenshots from Buffy the Vampire Slayer with lyrics from Hamilton overlaid on it.
It's so good.
Trying to find scenes that are relevant to each other. And then sometimes on Twitter, I also have Buffy quotes with Hamilton gifs.
Oh.
Yeah, sometimes I switch it up a little bit,
Wow. So long ago, when we first met, you were like, here's the deal. Restless. Like, we were like season 2. You know what I mean? You were like, Restless, okay? So now we're here. We're in Restless. We're talking about Restless. We're at the end of season 4. And you have a lot of feelings and thoughts. And I thought, it would be amazing to just sit and chat with you about some of these things.
I love this episode so much. Because I'm a poet, and Restless is such a poetic, lyrical, surreal, dreamy episode. And I think, and I think other people believe this too, is that it provides the emotional blueprint for where the characters have been and where they're going. There's so much foreshadowing in it, which this is a spoiler-free podcast, so we won't talk about, but it also talks about what the characters have been dealing with for the last 4 seasons. We've had some really plot-heavy seasons. And season 4, like we had Adam and the Initiative and Faith coming back and Buffy going to see Angel, and there's so much. And I feel like Restless is like this lyrical pause where we're like, okay, now let's transition to, let's really deepen what we're thinking about the mythology of this show.
Mm-hmm.
Where does Buffy come from? What does it mean to be a slayer versus being a killer? And we've learned that in the Whedonverse, they love dream sequences. Like, if there's anything we know.
So good at that.
I know. And dream sequences, as we've learned, are so important in the Whedonverse. It's like where the characters, like, they download messages from the universe. It sounds very LA.
Sounds very Adam.
Yeah, it does. They take little, hard drives
and
their
just
chest.
insert them.
But so people who are into magic say that dreams are where we psychically digest what we've been thinking, what we've been feeling, everything we've been processing. And so Restless is sort of like where the characters get to do that. And we get to use like visual cues like imagery and lighting and callbacks to previous seasons and all these other like surreal elements that help us see like where the characters, where they're at and how they're feeling.
Yeah. In a way that really doesn't happen. And it happens sometimes in more heavy-handed ways throughout the season, but not in a comprehensive way like we see in this episode.
Yeah, like Restless really goes for it. Like there's definitely danger and there's a fight scene, but it's mostly the character's interiority, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You specifically, you love the whole episode, but Buffy's dream is the one that, is the heaviest in your experience, the one that you wanted to talk about the most.
Yes, right. So I think Buffy's dream is my favorite because I think it gets to the heart of the emotional conflict, which is at the center of the series, which is it's between the isolation of being special and chosen versus the pain and vulnerability that comes with letting people in and being in community.
Mm-hmm.
So Buffy is always pulled between that. She's set apart. She's the Slayer, but she also has these friends. But people can hurt you and leave you and abandon you. And as we've seen many times in the series. So she's always kind of trying to decide if she is alone or if she has people to support her.
Right.
And so the first Slayer is following them all through their dreams as punishment for the enjoining spell. and that's also sort of, they keep saying this is like nothing we've ever faced before because I think they're also facing the psychic damage that can happen from all of the time they spend with death and destruction and violence. They've been fighting and killing things and been in danger and being experiencing trauma for 4 years now. What can that do to a person?
Truly. Yeah.
And I think that they have all of them, but maybe especially Buffy because she is the Slayer and she has this weight on her shoulders. They have to contend with what does that mean for them? How do they keep moving forward? How do they not lose themselves and lose each other in the process of fighting all the time? Mm-hmm. It's like what Xander said to Buffy when she was on her way to kill Faith in season 3. He said, I don't want to lose you. Right. And they're all that's kind of what they're always grappling with. They're always on that line of walking that line between light and darkness.
Do you think that is then what Sanea is also symbolizing as the side of things, sort of the mentality that all the other Slayers have had to have where they do lose their friend. They don't have friendships. They don't have whatever because really the only way up until now to do that kind of killing and fighting is to lose yourself.
Right, exactly. And she says, no friends, just to kill, we are alone. And she says that I just live in the penetrating wound and the blood cry and I live in the action of death. That's a very lonely existence. Mm-hmm. And that is what Buffy comes from. There's problematic stuff about that I'll talk about later. But it's definitely Buffy is grappling with where she comes from, the source of her power, which is violence and darkness and chaos.
Mm-hmm.
And how does she live with that? How does she not stuff it into a box and ignore it?
Mm-hmm.
And how does she not completely succumb to it and still be a human and still like be a person?
Right.
Yeah, and we know that like Buffy and every Slayer is like imbued with a sort of like supernatural physical strength, right?
Mhm.
But I don't know, like I feel like up to this point in the series we've seen maybe some indication that she's also imbued with a like psychological strength that might be like a step or two out ahead of her friends, but I don't know if that's like because of experience or like training, or if she just straight up like has this ability, like a greater ability to deal with what she is doing on a daily basis that comes with the strength, like that comes with the physical strength.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think she has that that Slayer's intuition, which is why she's always having prophetic dreams.
Right,
like she's
right.
part of a line of women who are fighting evil and who have like both mental and emotional strength as well as physical strength.
I think, and you know, I'm sure you're going to talk about this as well, but it's just like the thing that is, there are a lot of problematic things, but one of the biggest ones for me is in her ignoring of Sanaya, that like this episode doesn't see her take Sanaya's words and wisdom and experience in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
It just sees her say like, I got it. I've got this.
Yep.
And like as a queer woman, that was very striking to me because I thought, well, like so much of my life is looking to my history and like the people who have come before me, the work that they've done, and using that and not saying like, sorry, I got this now. I don't need. And that was very unslayer-like of Buffy, I thought.
But it's
I
not
thought
so
so
far
too.
removed like from behavior we might expect to see from a 20-year-old girl.
Right.
Or
a 20-year-old
boy.
white. A 20-year-old white girl, too.
Uh-huh.
If we're going to put the race into this. It's just like, she's, when Sanaya speaks, we're like, oh, Sanaya is speaking. And Buffy's like, yeah, I'm good.
The Whedonverse loves an inner struggle. And I think that like, so if Sanaya is supposed to represent Buffy's inner darkness and violence, and then that's why they're wrestling and fighting. But like, that's so racist to have a black woman be a metaphor for how a white woman achieves self-actualization.
Right.
Like Buffy goes to like generic Africa, which represents desolation and loneliness. And like then Sanaya like doesn't get to be a full human. She's just this metaphor that represents Buffy's inner source. And Buffy's like says a racist thing about her hair. And like she's like, you're not the source of me. Well, actually, like
kind of like literally.
Right.
Quite literally are.
Yeah. Right. Like maybe we should actually give some reverence to the first Slayer and ask her what she went through and
apologize
what her dreams
for
are.
pissing her off.
Yes.
Like she's fucking angry and she's angry for a reason. And like it just doesn't seem at any point that anyone is in this episode. And I know, you know, this is a spoiler-free podcast, so there is more to say about Sanaya, which we can't talk about here, but we eventually will. And but even with that context, it's still like in this episode, we hear from her very little. Most of what we hear from her is via Tara, who is speaking for her. Certainly, I think I would imagine that we all have room for like the idea that there's a lineage, that, you know, that things were done differently, that Buffy is doing things differently. She has friends, no Slayers before her, as we've learned, have like had that community. Like, but it just seems like that story could have been told where there was some reverence for, like you said, the source of it all. So, okay. So obviously there's some problematic stuff here, but in addition to all of that, there's a lot going on in Buffy's dream.
Yes.
That I know you want to talk about.
Yes, there is. Okay. So there's a couple things. There's a scene where she's in her bedroom and she says, Faith and I just made that bed, which is a callback to the dream sequence in this year's Girl when she and Faith were making that bed. I have recently been thinking that, you know, the expression, you made your bed, now lie in it. So she and Faith in Bad Girls really kind of went to that dark side. Buffy touched the chaos, and Faith enticed her into this sort of like thrill of aggression. And then Buffy like later tried to kill Faith. So Buffy has like, she's gone to that dark side.
Mm-hmm.
She has touched that place within her that craves to like be aggressive and to hunt and to take what she can get. And now she has to deal with those consequences.
Mm.
You know, she keeps saying a slayer is not the same thing as a killer. And Riley keeps calling her killer in that dream.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of has to like deal with, well, where does my power come from?
That's really interesting because it is the struggle that we've seen her facing for the whole series. But certainly once Faith came around was when she was like, I'm not that. I'm not that thing.
Mm-hmm.
But truthfully, she is.
She is. The other thing from that part of the dream, so Tara hands her the tarot card of Manus.
Mm-hmm.
And because I'm a huge tarot geek, I did Buffy's numerology for her soul and shadow card in the tarot. So
we're listening.
Yeah, so if you calculate Buffy's birth date, you get her soul card, which is the Empress. So that's like Buffy as the prom queen, Buffy with friends, Buffy, this happy, sunny Southern California girl.
Mm-hmm.
Her shadow card is the Hanged One, which is all about martyrdom and sacrifice and kind of being bound by outside forces. So she's bound by her sacred birthright and she's always sacrificing herself. And she has these two sides of herself. So it's all about like, this episode is all about like light and darkness and reconciling the two of them and becoming a whole person that way.
Wow. Thank you for being here with us and talking about Restless.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you.
yeah.
I really like the perspective that you brought and also bring as a writer, as a poet, and also as somebody who is obviously deeply entrenched in the Buffyverse. Is really amazing. And for an episode like this, I think it's so cool. Like that we could, I mean, so many people could watch this episode and like, okay, what's the thing that like really stuck out to you? And it's like, everybody's going to have something different. It's really that kind of episode.
Yeah.
So it's been really awesome to hear your perspective and have you bring these things into the fold.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Lauren, for talking to us. This has been a really fun journey through this episode. We've had so many fun conversations with so many people. And yeah, let's talk about some of the things that maybe we didn't talk about with Lauren.
The demons have escaped. Please run for your lives.
That's a good voiceover.
Thank you. So there's that. But don't worry, Riley and Adam have a plan. They're going to make a pillow fort.
A pillow fort!
To defend themselves against the escaped demons.
What, Jenny, is a better segue to the Sexual Tension Awards than Riley building a pillow fort?
Sexual Tension Award.
Wow. Welcome. One
there
and all.
Comes a time in a young girl's life when it's the Sexual Tension Awards again.
Wow. It's a very exciting time for all of us, including Emily McLongstreet. She who runs the Sexual Tension Award bracket, a bracket which will begin running as soon as this week's poll has ended. So if you want to be part... Now, every other week you get the chance to be a part of the democracy that is choosing the winner for the episode. But it is quite a responsibility to be a part of the bracket that happens during the off-season where we choose the winner for the entire season.
Are you prepared? Are you up to the challenge? Are you ready to take the bull by the horns?
Wow, Jenny.
And
got any other weird sex metaphors over there?
What the hell? Who's having sex with a bull around here? Anyway, wow.
We'll talk off mic.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me first tell you all the winners of the Sexual Tension Award poll from Primeval, Season 4, Episode 21. In last place, our throuple. 13% for Adam and Spike and Riley. Apparently, it was just a little too much man for all of you. You know what I mean? Just one too many. muscles and just floppy disks.
I don't think any of those discs would be floppy given the opportunity.
In third place, we have Decrypt My Code, Willow, and Decryption. I want to say that we don't talk about Angel because Brittany, Ashley, and Laura Zach do. But Jenny, there's a really fun moment in Blind Date, which is the 21st episode of Angel. So they aired back to back, where Cordelia,
oh my God, is on the phone with Willow, and they're decrypting also.
They're decrypting too.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's so great. And what's even more fun, and they talked about this on Angel on Top. You should really be listening. It's a joy. Alexis Denisof and Allison Hannigan. Now Allison Denisof,
yes,
began dating at the beginning of, sort of like when Alexis moved to the Angel show.
Right.
And so what's really fun about the scene in Angel where they're decrypting the code is that Cordelia says to Wesley, Willow says hi.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just cute and fun because they were dating.
That
okay.
is cute.
I have to stay on track. Second place in our Sexual Tension Award poll for Prime Evil is Spike and Buffy with 30%.
Nice.
Not a poor showing, but 4% extra was given to the winner. 34% went to Zombie Forrest and Riley.
Oh, God.
And Forrest has been waiting for that for the whole season.
It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, so I think well-deserved Forrest RIP, and your
Congrats.
trophy is in the mail?
Mail, yeah.
It'll
your
be
trophy
arriving
is in
at
the
your
morgue.
crypt. Yeah.
This is the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm free of all my weaknesses, my doubts. He's gonna fix you up too, as soon as we got some choice parts. Then you and me will be back on the same side, moving toward a new future.
Wow. All right, Jenny, what do we got? Season finale, sexual tension.
Here we go. We've got some hot contenders for this episode. They are the following couplings. First of all, for that opening scene where Giles wanted to make sure Joyce didn't want to join them to watch some Blockbuster videos, it's Giles and Joyce.
Yes! I love a Giles and Joyce.
Two adults.
Two adults, one bathrobe, one pair of glasses. What will happen?
Okay. Also, if that's not quite your taste, we've also got a nomination in place for Joyce and Xander.
Joyce is coming out hot in this episode.
I mean, look at that lady in red.
Is dancing with me.
Beautiful.
Cheek
okay.
to cheek.
All right.
I just have to get to the cheek part.
Yikes.
Okay. Who else we got, Jenny?
Speaking of CHEE, but a different consonant and then also an extra vowel, we've got the cheese man and cheese. The cheese man and cheese. The cheese man and cheese.
Speaking of CHEE, but replace... Okay. I'm not going to repeat it for all of you.
Be me.
I'm going to.
And if none of those options works for you...
Yeah, I feel a little underwhelmed so far. What else do we got, Jenny?
We've got Willow and ancient Greek queer poetry that she's painting on the back of her girlfriend. Incredible.
Wow. I'm sure that we discussed this in the last episode, Jenny, but do you know that the first time that poem by Sappho was on television was actually before this episode? It was on Xena, and it was a poem that Xena read to, what's her name?
Gabrielle.
Yeah.
Oh.
So.
This is listen, I don't mean to, this is some gay ass shit. Is what this is. Bless us, everyone.
Yes. So, Twitter.
I think we already know who won, but yes, please join us by casting a vote in our democracy. We are at Buffering Cast. Look for this Sexual Tension Award poll.
Yeah, you've got a week to vote.
And then when the winner is decided, the bracket shall begin.
Yes. We activate Emily McLongstreet as soon as this poll ends. And then shit gets real. Also, I'm not looking forward to being done with the series, Jenny, but like the excitement I have for the Sexual Tension Award vote off of season to season for one ultimate winner.
It's going to rock.
Do you think it's going to be Faith and Buffy?
Too soon to say.
Too soon to say.
Too soon to say. But also, I'd be remiss if I didn't let everyone know that you were bummed that there are only 4 polling slots on Twitter because you wanted Anya and Steering to be nominated. So if anybody wants to write that in, please go ahead.
Please feel free.
Cool. So that's your last Sexual Tension Award of season 4.
Wow.
Sexual Tension Award.
Okay, so we had a conversation with Lauren already about some of the problematic things in this episode, specifically with Sanaya, and talked about it already. But just to repeat, I think that I would have been a lot more pleased with this episode had there been a little more reverence for Sanaya's experience and also the things that she was bringing to the table. After we get through the scene in the desert, we're back in Buffy's living room, and Buffy essentially is like, I'm going to ignore you, and you're going to go away. And then, as we've already discussed, makes a super racist comment about her hair.
Oof, yeah. I do think it's worth mentioning from the commentary that Joss talks about this moment of Buffy just being like, I'm just going to like stop paying attention and like this is not going to be part of my vibe. He talks about that. Essentially, the climax of the episode is very anticlimactic, and that's the point, because Buffy's rejecting the narrative of the Slayer as a tragically isolated figure.
Right. And this is, I think maybe we touched on it a little bit with Lauren, but that's what's complicated, right? Is that, first of all, I don't think it's spoiling anything to say that as the series progresses, we will learn more about Sanaya. This is not the full picture of her experience. And with the context that we will get, I think that this discussion will expand and change, because there's a lot more there than we just see here. But the problem is that instead of her rejecting, when she takes a step away from the council, she's rejecting like the patriarchy and the control. And so I think that the complication here is that instead of continuing with that theme, they positioned a Black woman in this position that is being rejected.
Right. There's something very white feminism about it.
Yeah.
Something very like, I've discovered my power and the way that I see things is right for everyone.
Fuck yes. Exactly. Right? It's like, I can do this, and so sorry that you couldn't. Like, almost like positioning them as though they were seated equally, and that Buffy just like figured it out. And had like equal access to figure it out, which of course isn't true on so many levels, not just having to do with, time, race, class, like so many things, but also just by the very nature of the fact that Sanaya was the literal first Slayer. There's a lot of white fat. I think that's a good call, Jenny.
Thank you.
You are welcome. So wish that had been dealt with better.
Handled differently.
That's what's fun about us having a podcast about the show, is that we get to kind of like reactivate these conversations in current spaces and with the knowledge that we have. And also we are notably 2 white women discussing this. And when we were discussing it with Lauren, we were 3 white women discussing it. So we only are coming at it from that perspective.
How many white women does it take?
Right. But I think what's really cool is that usually when we open up these conversations, it's just the beginning. Like Jenny and I are like, hey, we have feelings about this, and this is how we find it to be complicated. And obviously, maybe not obviously, but I did read the excerpts from Joss Whedon and Race on this, and some of the information that I'm bringing to the table is coming from that book as well. Many of you, I'm sure, will email us and expand the conversation even further. And then we do a mailbag episode and we talk about it more. And it's
my God.
Really cool.
What is this, a community?
It's a community. And it's just powerful and wonderful and increasingly important, I think, to both of us and I think to all of you. So, yes, there is my monologue for today. So then everybody wakes up and they sort of unpack.
They're having a debriefing of their own.
Yes, everybody is debriefing. They're around the table in the living room, or in the dining room rather, and Joyce comes out and is of course like, what did I miss? And I love this like energy. They're the family.
Like the spirit of the first Slayer, like tried to kill us in our dreams, and Joyce is like, "Oh, should I make some cocoa?"
right. Which is like, I think very true of humans, right? That like we normalize, like whatever situation we're put in for the most part, if we're in it for long enough,
we're so adaptable.
We adapt and we're like, right, my daughter's a Slayer, evil abounds, and hot cocoa.
Heat up some milk, okay.
Still delicious.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Spike who really wanted those mini marshmallows?
Oh my God, Spike loves the mini marshmallows.
Joyce really loves making cocoa, huh?
It's her. Maybe cocoa is her love language.
Oh, it's like gift giving. What are the love languages?
Oh, words of affirmation, touch, some other stuff.
This is when we really need Brittany and Lauren to help us.
Yeah, truly.
And hot chocolate is really
chocolate.
where I was headed with that. One more thing, I think we've talked about white feminism and the racism and other sort of like primitive narratives in this thing, in this episode. But I will say that at the end of the episode, Buffy says, I never really thought about it before. And I thought, well, if that isn't the vessel of
the chorus.
Right. It's like that's the chorus of white feminism. It's the chorus of privilege. It's a thing that I think, Jenny, you and I both have had to look at, especially in the last couple of years since the election, of like, I never really thought about it. Right. Why?
Because I didn't have to.
I didn't have to. Buffy has not had to. She says something earlier in the episode, too. She's speaking to Sanaya, and she says, I walk, I talk, I shop, I sneeze. And the intentionality of the line is like, I do all of these things because I'm not just a Slayer. And it's like, you've had the privilege
of being not just a Slayer.
Exactly.
You don't know anything about Sanaya.
Right. And what's amazing about this episode is I think that it was, again, I don't know, but it seems like it was very unaware of the fact that it was even highlighting that privilege. I think that even the writers in the room were writing from a place of privilege where they didn't even realize what they were capturing.
Sure.
But I think that we can see it. And when that line was spoken at the end of the episode, I was like, well, if that isn't it, that's a pretty big thing. And then, of course, almost the tail end of the episode, we get Buffy saying to the group, hey, at least you didn't have that guy with the cheese in your dream. Which is it reminded me of the end of Pangs. Like they're all at the table.
Especially with Angel here. Wow.
Right. Anyhow, I thought that was fun.
But that's not the last thing that happens.
It isn't.
The last thing that happens is Buffy goes by the open door of her old bedroom, looks at the bed meaningfully, and then walks away. And can I tell you something that you're going to have to edit out? It's a spoiler.
Oh my God, you can. Are you trying to drive them crazy?
Well, you could edit it out and then put it on Patreon.
Okay.
If you want. Redacted.
Wow, Jenny, thank you for that spoiler. Very, very exciting. Actually, there's a moth flying around your head right now, which I feel is somehow like the listenership.
The traditional spoiler moth. It's just like in The Magicians, Every time I'm about to say a spoiler, a cloud of moths just surrounds my face.
So we leave Buffy looking at her bed, and we hear this voiceover from Tara once again. And I think that means, Jenny, that we're about to go into season 5.
Truly.
Wow, I wonder what's going to be there waiting for us.
I'm excited. I'm so excited.
I will say, you know this already. We're taking a break, and we will be back with a live taping from World Cafe Live in Philadelphia, Friday the 13th of September. We're going to be taping the premiere, which is Buffy versus Dracula.
Hell yeah!
And we'll be airing that episode and returning with season 5 on September 18th, I believe, is that Wednesday that follows. So we'll be gone for a little while, but if you are a patron supporter, if you're a Patreon supporter, there are a lot of things happening over the next few months. We have concerts from Jenny. We have a comic book club with me. We have Buffy watches.
Yeah.
We have Jenny, you're going to do a wrap-up song.
It's almost as if we're not taking a break.
It is almost as if. But we'll be pretty active over in the Patreon space. We'll be doing a mailbag episode and some other.
I think that season 4 wrap-up song is just going to be about Riley's abs, but we'll see.
We'll see how you're so inspired. And what I would would like to encourage you all to do, if you are not already listening to Angel on Top, you have this time, this
Get
break.
caught up. It's so good.
Get caught up, because I will say, like, it has been good from the jump, but Brittany and Laura are, it's like
they just get more powerful every day.
It's
phenomenal.
I'm like obsessed with them. Like I recorded a little bit of the finale with them. I did the fuck watch, and I also did a segment on Cordelia's arc for the finale. And I was listening to the podcast before I pulled up to Brittany's house to record, and I kind of felt like, wow, I can't believe I'm going to talk to them. And I've like been listening to them this whole time, and like we're friends, and they're so cool.
Oh my God.
I just think they're really brilliant. I think they're really brilliant, and they have
Truly.
such a different energy than you and I have.
I love listening to them.
I love
talk
listening
to, each
to
other.
them too. I think it's a really great quartet that we have going. So if you miss us, you could listen to Angel on Top, get caught up, and this way, when we all come back in September, you can be on board. You can have something every week.
Hell yes.
Right? All right. Well, Jenny, who were you?
Man, I am Jenny Owen Youngs, who is so bummed to be coming to the end of season 4, but so excited to be on the cusp, standing on the yawning edge of the abyss of season 5. Wow. And when I'm not making this podcast, I am making songs. And some of those songs are going to be coming out during our break, actually. I'm going to be releasing some music over the late spring and summer. So please follow me on Twitter and Instagram and everywhere else at Jenny Owen Youngs, and you can stay up to date on my releases. I don't want to stress you out, but one song I'm releasing is called Vampire Weeknight. So that just sounds like it might be relevant to your interests. So stay tuned for that. And that's who I am. That is the end of my spiel.
I too am very excited to roll into season 5, Jenny. I think it's going to be like the dawn of a new era, and just like a glorious journey.
Yeah, totally glorious.
Yeah.
That's definitely the word I would use.
Yeah, me too. So we're all pretty excited about season 5. And
when we get to season 5, I'm going to be like, Kristin, where have you been?
I've been right here this whole time. Oh, wow. Okay.
So many of you are like, what the fuck is going on right now?
It's rude. It's like when you go to a party and somebody else didn't go, and then you're just talking to your other friend about the party in front of the person who didn't go to the party.
Lord.
We're sorry. We're just
all going to the
excited.
party together in September.
We are. That is literally the most valley girl you have ever been in your whole life. You couldn't see Jenny, but her head just darted back and forth a bunch of times. As I was saying, I do work with LGBTQ communities. You can learn about that work by going to my website, which is KristinNoeline.com. That's KristinNoeline. A few things that I have coming your way this summer. I'm about to spin off to direct A Camp, which is a sleepaway camp for queer women and trans folks. I also, at the end of June, will be hosting an all-ages pride party. It's the 7th year running. We'll be at Housing Works Bookstore on June 29th. It's a really special event. It is sponsored once again this year by the Tegan and Sarah Foundation, and something really exciting that I don't have all the details for yet, but that's going to happen is that Tegan and Sarah Foundation this year are sponsoring New York City All-Ages Pride on June 29th. They're also sponsoring Atlanta Pride in October. So we're going to do our first all-ages Pride party in Atlanta over that Pride weekend. And as we have details, of course, I will share them. So if you want to stay up to date on all of that, KristinNoeline.com, you can use that same spelling to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. And I would be remiss not to tell you that I also will have a podcast happening every single week all the way through July, which is about the L word. I am sorry, and you are welcome. It is already a really great time. It's me and Reese Bernard, who is the CEO of Autostraddle.com. She's a genius. Is truly one of the most brilliant human beings I have in my life, and is also an expert about all things L word. So we are unpacking that. There's a lot of conversations about sexuality, bush confidence. Yup. Yeah, it's a good time.
Maybe I'll just randomly start a television podcast over the summer with all my free time. Buffering the Vampire Slayer is on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at BufferingCast. And you can always email us at bufferingthevampire@gmail.com.
A fly fell in my coffee.
No. Yeah,
I just drank it. Well, I assume it didn't intentionally go into my...
She's digging it out, everybody.
I got it out.
Yeah, and you're just going to keep drinking that coffee.
Yeah,
all right.
Whatever. I mean, even if it pooped in there, it can't be.
Oh, God.
It's such a small fly.
Okay. Moving on.
Okay, right. So if you'd like to support us, which obviously we need all the support we can get.
Clearly, Kristin needs help.
You can support us by going to bufferingthevampireslayer.com. You can click on Patreon, join our Patreon family. It's a really beautiful space. As mentioned before, we will be doing a lot of things over the summer, and you can find out actually all of those things by just going to our events page, clicking on events on that website, and you can see all the things we'll be doing. You can also support us by going to our store. We have so much fun new merch, including an enamel pin with witches on it. It's really great.
Treat yourself to some swag.
And holy shit, we'll be back in your fucking ears pretty soon.
Thank you so much for joining us for this season and previous seasons. You rock. We're very thankful for you. And we can't wait to come back in September.
We really cannot. Jenny, are you ready for a howl that encompasses not only Restless, but all of our freshman year of college?
I'm going to dig deep.
All right.
Till next season.
Kill the demon cyborg, shouldn't I be rewarded with 40 wings? Pass out on the sofa, anybody know what gives? With these dreams, got me so restless. Got me so restless. Got me so restless. Got me so restless. Followed by a shadow. Anybody here know why she wants to fight? Even in my slumber, I'm caught up in the kill or die. Every night, confounded by cheese man, but this much I know. I'm lucky in my friends, especially as slayers go. But if I am unconscious, is it too much to wish that I dream of cowboy guy? Got me so restless. 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 Got me so restless.
Dana Schwartz, and this is Rise or Die, the official companion podcast for Peacock's original series, Those About to Die. On this podcast, I go behind the scenes with the show's cast and creators to learn how they brought their brutal vision of Rome to life.
Gosh, people will freak out.
Rise or Die launches on July 18th. Watch or listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Finding a new podcast to listen to is easy. Finding a good new podcast, that's a little tougher. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. If you like fascinating information you can use in your life from some of the top experts in the world, you're going to like Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and recently we've covered topics like the benefits of laughing, the science of dreaming, where your deep desires come from, even how to make the perfect burger. We produce 3 episodes a week, and each episode is packed with rock-solid intel that will make your life better. And we have a lot of fun doing it. Something You Should Know has been ranked on the Apple Podcast charts every day for over 7 years. A lot of people like this podcast, and you will too. Listen to Something You Should Know wherever you get your podcasts. Look for the bright yellow light bulb on the blue background. It's Something You Should Know.